I have 3 daughters, and I had to count up this morning, but I have 20 grandchildren.
Oh my goodness!
But that includes the granddaughter-in-laws that have married in and son-in-laws that have married in, and 10 greats. So God has really been good and blessed my husband and I greatly. We're so thankful, and we're so thankful to be at Grace House. It's been an answered prayer for us. Recently, we've gotten to know Grant and Janice Freeman, which some of you know, and have become good friends. Grant's well known for his dad jokes. Does anyone know, have been exposed to some of his dad jokes?
Yes.
Well, God gave me a grandma joke this morning that I'd like to share with you. What do you call a grandma on speed dial? A grandma on speed dial.
I don't know, Glenda. What do you call a grandma on speed dial?
Instagram, of course.
That's so good.
And did I text that to all my grandchildren? Yes, I did.
Yeah.
All right, my name is CJ Hobson, and what was the question? What are we supposed to be doing? I was so excited about this joke over here. I'm like,
How many kids and grandkids?
okay. I have 4 kids. We have a blended family, so 2 biological and 2 from my husband. We have 3 girls and 1 boy. For all the mamas out there with little girls, I will tell you that the boy was the easiest to raise. I'm just saying, just saying.
True that.
We have 8 grandbabies, and the oldest one is 15, and the youngest one just turned 3 months yesterday. I told this to my table. My husband asked what I was going to say today, and I said, well, I'm going to make sure that I let everyone know that I am not a public speaker, and you will soon realize that in just a few moments. So just so that you're aware, just wanted to throw that out there for you.
This is not public speaking. So you're good. It's sharing, so you're good. Yep. All right, so the first question that the moms had was a pretty easy one. What has been your favorite part about becoming a grandma?
I think the most wonderful thing is you don't have to stress and worry about their physical needs. When your grandkids are there, you just have fun. You build memories, you build relationships, you do everything from bubbles to puzzles to games to riding bikes. You build memories. And I think that's been the most refreshing thing for me, is that as a mom, we're so concerned about getting them fed, getting diapers changed, getting them to bed on time, getting them up for school, all of those things. And I mean, the joy of grandmotherhood is just making memories. And my grandkids range in age right now from 30 to 18. But there was a time when we were really busy doing fun things with them, and my husband would say, "You're wearing yourself out." And I would say, "Leave me alone. I'm making memories."
That's right, exactly. For me, that's I think I would echo what Glenda said. And also, one thing to add, it's fun to watch each of the grandkids and see their different personalities. One daughter has 2 kids, the other daughter has 2 kids, the other daughter has 2 kids, the son has 1. But all of those kids are so different, and it's just fun watching how they interact. And so becoming a grandma was much less stressful for me, just like Glenda, and I've enjoyed that. I've really enjoyed that.
That's what I would say as well. There's not the pressure of being the mom that has to require all the things and make sure everybody's doing what they need, but you can just be a loving support. And I love the aspect of being able to support my daughters in their need, to just be able to offer a safe space for the girls and just to truly love on them. And there is such a different, you hear it all the time that the love that a grandparent has is so different. But I think that the responsibility goes out the door, so it just lifts it. It just lifts it, and we can just love and be support and just be there for them.
Anyone else excited to be a grandma? I'm like already excited. Okay, have you guys experienced any challenges in the transition from motherhood to being a grandma? No, they're like, no, it was awesome. It's so challenging to sleep all night, right?
I know that I have friends that have really struggled leaving the motherhood behind, but I don't feel like I experienced that necessarily because I feel like I still had a relationship with my daughters, and it just felt like a little bit of stepping back, like it's not my full season. I'm like a support, but I didn't find it challenging.
I'm not sure that I experienced any really challenges. I think I just embraced it.
Yeah.
More so. Of my grandkids, I will say raising 3 daughters was a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. And of my grandchildren, 7 of them are boys, so that has been fun, just fun. So, no, I don't think there have been challenges, just embracing.
Same as these two have said. I don't feel like I had any issues. Actually, it was almost like a relief for me. I felt like I didn't need to be in control. Sometimes I can be a control freak with my kids, and so for me, it was like I didn't have to be in control. No one needed me to tell them what they should or shouldn't be doing. I just looked at my kids like they were adults. They know and they've got it. So I just was, I don't have any issues, I don't think. They may think I did, but I don't think I did.
How about your relationship with your kids? How has that changed since they became parents?
I think it's kind of, for me, a little bit of the same what I've expressed, stepping back. I don't feel like I was a controlling parent necessarily, but I have sort of embraced that this is their season. It doesn't mean that there's not hardship or pain in watching things. Sometimes that they go through an experience, but I just feel like for me it's easy to take the back seat and to be a support. I'm there if they need me. I'm willing to give advice if I'm asked. I'm willing to speak into it if I feel like the Lord's prompting me to, but I don't feel like it's my responsibility. Maybe I'll
No.
push it a little bit, but yeah.
Well, kind of along those same lines, I really kind of want to know the answer to this question, so that's why I'm jumping ahead. What would you say to your kids if you didn't have to filter? So, sometimes we hold back and we don't say the things that we want to say because we're afraid they're going to be hurtful. But if you could just be unfiltered with your kids with no worry of hurt feelings or judgment or any of that, what would you say to them as parents?
Is this as an adult?
Right now. So like if you're watching them parent and what's something that you wish that you could say to them, but you kind of filter yourself? We're not going to judge you. No one's going to be upset in here.
My
We
daughter
wanna
and
know.
I just had this conversation last night.
You did.
Over some things, and my response was, don't give up. Don't back down. You are doing a great job. Sometimes I think as moms, we think no one's paying attention, no one's looking at us, no one cares. Your kids care, and they are watching you. They love you. They may not act like it in the moment, but don't back down. You are enough. You are enough to everyone in your household. And so I think for me, just telling my kids not to give up. Just don't give up, no matter what, don't give up.
And I'd like to give an example of that. My youngest daughter married and had 2 children and then divorced, and then found a wonderful Christian man and remarried and had 2 more children. So she's the youngest, probably the one that checks in with us the most. And the other day, she has 2 sons. Her 2 youngest sons are in college now. She said, I'm so angry with my son. And so we talked quite a while on the phone. I said, okay, so I don't need to know why you're angry, but you know, he is almost 20. So just be loving. Ask God to hold your tongue if you need to. She says, well, I'm going to drive to college and talk to him because I'm really angry with him. I said, well, on the way, make sure you deal with that anger. So I think just be honest with them in those situations, especially when there are challenges raising their own children, is just to be frank and honest. And I think that opens the way. Yeah. She's also the daughter that calls us and say, will you pray for my coworker? Will you pray for this person or that person? So there's a place where you're honest in love with them.
So how about the grandma who feels disconnected from her kids or grandkids and is unhappy with that relationship? That's a tough one.
That is hard, and I feel like we see it a lot more in this season, and I don't necessarily have all the answers of why, but if I were to guess, maybe some of the situations, I think sometimes grandmas or granddads want to insert themselves in places where it's not their responsibility. And sometimes you have to be willing to take the back seat and realize God placed those children in your son or daughter's lives, and you're there for support. You're not there to, you're there to be a support and really have honest conversations and be willing to say, I'm sorry, to ask, have I done anything, and be willing to ask for forgiveness, and even ask your child, is there something that I could do better, and I think it's probably different personalities that maybe, have a little more trouble with this. I'm not sure, but on the flip side, for the child, I would encourage you to, maybe look at your parents' perspective a little bit and be a little gentle with them as seasons change. Sometimes, people have more trouble with it than others, and be willing to look at them and just see that, they've never been a grandparent before. This is a new role for them, and to give them a little grace, and for the parent to give the child a little grace.
I think that's great advice, yeah.
One other thing is, I found that you almost have to intentionally make time, whether you say, hey, can we go get a coffee? Just to build those relationships, like you mentioned, to where there is honesty.
Yeah.
And no barriers, no unforgiveness.
Yeah.
So.
And just remembering, right, like it's all about loving God, loving others. And sometimes we get caught up in all the other stuff, the parenting stuff and the stuff that we feel like others should be doing better. But really what matters is just loving each other well. So, yeah. Anybody else want to add to that?
The only thing I have was on my notes, I put don't push too hard. Sometimes I think as grandparents, because we know we've been there, we've done that, and someone had made that comment, you insert yourself into whatever the situation is, but we have to remember that's not our situation, that's theirs, and you've taught them, they've grown up, they have a family, they're trying to make those decisions just like you did when you started out. So just try not to maybe push too hard.
So on the flip side of that, we do have some moms out here. There were lots of questions about how to deal with that. So when you feel like the grandma or the mother-in-law is pushing too hard and is overstepping, how do you handle that in a loving way that doesn't damage the relationship? Because I mean, we all want our kids to be loved by their grandparents. We want the grandparents to be involved, but what if that grandparent is overstepping consistently?
Personally, I think there has to be boundaries. As a grandparent, my grandkids call me nanny, so if I call myself nanny, that's I'm talking about me. There has to be boundaries. As the grandparent, you should have boundaries in place, and as the parent, you should have boundaries in place. You're the parent, you're raising those kids, and I know I'm probably talking about something else, one of the questions, but if my kids want my opinion, they're going to ask for it, and they will say, I want you to help me. I want your help. Otherwise, they just want me to listen. They don't want me to tell them, you know, here's your 5 steps and you need to get all these done. Your kids, you need to have boundaries with your parents. And if that can be a hard conversation, trust me, I know it can be, but in order to raise your family and your children, you have to put boundaries in place. And when you want your parents to help you, then just ask them for that help.
That's good advice. So how do you guys maintain strong relationships with your adult children?
I have girls, so I think that it's a little easier sometimes from what I hear. I have a sister that has 3 or 4 boys and 1 daughter, and so, you know, I think that just, you know, I let them know, hey, you know, I'm interested, what's going on, you know, we try to stay connected. I connect with one more because the other one has more obligations, and but I'm there, and they always know that I'm there. So I just try to be available and let them know I'm praying for them. You know, I have my book, Praying for Your Adult Children, and I'm praying for them and just trying to be an encouragement whenever I can. You know, if I'm one of them lives out of town, and so this last time specifically, I said, let's just you and I go to dinner. And it was a sweet time because she was kind of walking through a little bit of a challenge, and I felt like the Lord wanted me to speak a few things to her, and it was real sweet. And so just being sensitive to those times, and you know, and just making the time. Yeah.
Another thing, Jennifer, you mentioned praying for them. I think it's important that you communicate that. You know, I love Phil Wickham's song, The Battle's on Our Knees. And whether you're praying for your children your grandchildren, even your greats, establishing that and letting them know that I'm praying into that situation. Whether they ask you to pray into it or not, you can at least tell them. As a retired teacher, I kind of want to always take control, too. But you have to give them that respect, and I think that mutual space.
I was going to add to the praying for your children aspect. So you can start that now. You don't have to be a grandma for that. So I ask my kids every morning, how can I pray for you today? And sometimes it's a math test or sometimes it's a tough relationship, but they know every day that I am praying for them, and they have started praying for others too. So it's something that we've started already that I think has been good for our relationships.
And that's one thing. As a teacher, I always am so full of joy when I know the children I'm teaching have been prayed over. When mom dropped them off, when they got on the bus, but that's so important. So yeah, don't wait till they're older. Start now. Start before preschool. Start before kindergarten.
Yeah.
Lay hands on them. Pray over them. It's never too early.
Mm-hmm.
And I often prayed for wisdom. Like I would just pray, I remember I'm going to really date myself, but does anyone remember the Donut Man tapes? So we listened to those all the time in the car. There are all these sweet little jingles about scriptures and character qualities and all these things. And anyway, but I remember just like when there were situations, I would just pray, God, I need your wisdom because I don't know what to do. And I started that at a very young age. And definitely as your kids get older, you walk through things that you never expected to walk through, and you need wisdom, and you need, God's input and to impart to you. And so just a little breath of a prayer, because he says to ask for wisdom and he will give it. So I just encourage you to just breathe that prayer, ask it in the morning and pray it over a specific situation, and he will guide you and give you wisdom.
Yeah. What is that verse? Ask and he'll give generously. So it's not even that he's giving wisdom, he's giving it generously. Yeah. I do that a lot in situations where I'm like, I have no idea how to handle this. I've never dealt with this before.
And in this day and age, whether you homeschool, whether you public school, whether you private school, pray the protection.
Yeah.
Pray in the name of Jesus over your child.
Yeah.
You never know what is going to happen with them. So pray God's supernatural protection over them before you send them out of your arena to somewhere else.
Sorry, I need to take a breath there because we've done a couple of these. So how do families share time between both sets of grandparents in a way that feels fair, even if it's not always equal? A lot of us deal with that out there, right, guys? Yeah.
In our families, maybe we're blessed, I'm not sure. Well, yes, we are blessed. That was kind of a dumb thing to say, wasn't it? I think you all know what I meant, though. Sometimes I do think that as a grandparent, things aren't fair. But fair can be 1 week it works to these people's benefit, next week it's someone else. So as a blended family, we try, and this is just us, it may not work for everyone, we try to celebrate birthdays with all the grandparents, all the whatevers. We try to do all those things together. We always go to all the kids' events together. I don't mean we all pile in the same car and we all drive together. I don't mean that. We just all end up at the same place. But we do it because we're trying to show the kids, our grandbabies, that they're the most important. We're doing this for them. So for us, we just try to do things as families, and we try to do it together. It doesn't really matter if it's a school event or if it's a sporting event, whatever, but we do try to do things as families all together.
One thing I can say about Chuck E. Cheese is you can invite both sides of the family. It may not be the most popular birthday party, but it does include both sets of grandparents or whatever. I think there's an honor and a respect between grandparents that just says, my granddaughter just called me the other day and said, well, I know you said 3 o'clock for Easter, but we need to go to my husband's family before that. So it might be 3:30 or so before we get there. Is that okay? I said, yes, whenever you can come with as many grandchildren as we have, and they're all around pretty close. You have to be flexible and share. Mm-hmm. I mean, your heart could want them there the whole time. We just said, we'll start the Easter egg hunt with your son when you guys get here. So.
I think, my daughter having a blended, family, we had to be flexible, and there's a lot. And I might celebrate Christmas the week before with her, and but I have a daughter in Texas, so we may not see them, or we may go down there after.
Yeah.
So we just learned to be flexible. It doesn't have to be the specific day. And also, I don't want to put more pressure on my daughter. And so I tend to, I'll pull back, and if it means that it's another time, I will do that. And there's two things I wanted to say about this. The first one is, I would encourage you as married young moms and I think it's important for you to help encourage even your husband to prioritize family on both sides. And I think that it often starts with the woman. And I know from having daughters, with husbands and families and that sort of thing, that there can be challenges sometimes in every relationship, but that is your husband's family. Mm-hmm. And I just encourage you to work so much to have peace and to honor and respect, and then that they would do the same for you, for your family. Mm-hmm. And secondly, what I wanted to say about that, my husband and I, we were young when we got married and had children young, and so we just say, we're glad we like each other, because if we're not having Thanksgiving with anyone, it's okay, because we're having it together, and we might go somewhere by ourselves, or, we might do something separate. So this is an encouragement to you to build that relationship with your husband, because that is the relationship, once your kids are grown, that's going to be there, and is going to remain. And so I just encourage you in that to build that, and also pursue honoring their family, and just have grace. I can't say grace enough.
Yeah, that's such a good reminder too, to value that relationship with your husband, because we all know how hard that is when you have littles that are constantly touching you. You get to the end of the day and you're like, I really don't want to be touched.
And to make time for it. I know this is not necessarily grandparenting, but my husband was really good. He's always been good about saying, why don't you go on this trip with me, this work trip, or whatever, or do this, and I'm like, I can't leave right now. I've got these little kids, and we homeschooled, but once I got in the car, or on the plane, I was like, what was I thinking? I mean, go, do it. Just make the arrangements. I know it's hard to take the time to do it, but do it. You're investing. You're investing in the relationship.
It really makes all the difference. That's good advice. All right, I want to know the answer to this one. How do you navigate things like sleepovers, treats, screen time, or other grandparent rules while respecting the parents' wishes? Ooh.
That is such a fine line. It is such a fine line. There have been times when I ask my daughters, is it all right if we make homemade ice cream, while I have the kids over? Or we thought we might go to Dairy Queen or whatever. And they'll say, well, watch the sugar intake, don't do that. So again, it's such a fine line to, can I act as a grandparent without sugar involved? Probably, but it won't be near as much fun. I think we want to give them those things, and that's our natural heart desire. But again, it's all about mutual respect for your daughter or son and their parenting requests.
Yeah.
So.
And I mean, that kind of goes along with the next question. Why do grandparents feel that urge to spoil so much? To spoil the grandkids, even when it makes things harder for the parents?
I don't guess I feel like I have this desire to spoil them, but because I don't see them all the time, I want to give them treats.
Yeah.
And I want to do that, but I do ask permission. I don't indulge. I didn't probably indulge my kids. I probably don't indulge, and I just make sure that it's okay.
Yeah.
And it's cute when we go to Texas. My husband loves to go get donuts with the kids, and Lauren is a little more eating well and that kind of thing. But they know we're not there often, and so they indulge us and let us go get donuts and bring them home.
Yeah.
And so I think that, again, it goes to what we talked about. I'm not going to overstep. I want to know, is this okay? And, sometimes, the girls here, I get to have them sometimes together and sometimes separate. And my daughter loves that I get to have one-on-one time.
Yeah.
So, I might take that one shopping and just do something a little fun. But if it's something I'm not sure about, I'm going to ask.
Yeah.
Just to respect them.
Well, and on the other side of things, guys, so I have older kids, right? You guys know that. I was very strict with the grandparents starting out. It was like no sugar, no dyes, no screen time, like all the things, okay? But now I'm like, do whatever you want with them. Just make memories with them, because that's what really matters, right? Like, the grandparents aren't going to be around forever. I'm so grateful that my kids have their grandparents and that they are able to spend time with them. And so I just give them free rein now, because they're making memories with my kids. And so I know it's hard, and I know that we want our kids to be healthy and all these things, but I would just encourage you, just kind of let the grandparents have the reins. Like, let them make memories with your kids and let them spoil them, because your kids are going to remember all of that so fondly, and they're going to be so grateful for that time. So
God just gave me a memory. My husband's always really good about, when the grandchildren come over, involving them in whatever we're doing, whether we were going to go to the grocery store or Rural King. They've got popcorn and bunny rabbits there and chicks, so by the way, that's a good place. But he's always good about incorporating them into a part of your day or your routine, and that gives your grandchildren all kinds of experiences that don't involve sugar. Or don't have to.
Activities or, whatever you're doing around your house, it might be something that you need to do. Sometimes they like to get in there and help you cook, or, get things started, or we might, we have a little bit of space, so they love to take little tractor rides, and we're all about that, and, it's just a lot of fun.
I will say, when you plant those seeds younger, my youngest grandson still loves to bake bread with me, because I started it young, very young. So we bake bread.
that's so sweet.
It
I love
stays
that.
with them, those
Yeah.
memories.
So how about looking back? Do you have any regrets? Any parenting regrets? Any things that you would have done differently? Any advice for the moms out there?
I probably would have been more patient. I wanted my kids to not be perfect. Well, maybe I did. Maybe I thought they could be perfect. And I think sometimes I was not patient enough with them, and I wished that I had of, and I wished that I had snuggled them more. You know, when they would just come up and sit on your lap and lay their head against yours. You know, sometimes as a mom, you're going, oh my gosh, I have got to get whatever done. And you have to realize that might be your only chance that week with that little one. And so for me, when I looked at this question, first I thought, well, that's kind of foolish. And then it was like, I think it hit me like a ton of bricks. I just wished I had just squeezed them a little tighter and just loved them a little bit harder. Though my kids knew that I loved them, looking back, I wished I had taken more time.
Goes along with that is just spend more singular time if you have more than one child. I think just specifically singling them out and taking them on a shopping trip or out to lunch or doing things with you, whether it's gardening or baking or anything. I think singular time is important too if you have several children.
Yeah, I think I've mentioned before that we do special time with our kids. So they each have a night of the week where they get 30 minutes after everyone else goes to sleep. And we started it as a side when we were fostering because our foster baby needed so much extra time, but it turned into something that was just so wonderful for us because you do get to see their little individual personalities more, and they're different when they're one-on-one, you know? So my parents, the grandparents actually do that now too. They sometimes will take them one-on-one. So for like a birthday, they take them out to breakfast for their birthday, and then they go shopping with them. So instead of picking out a present, the kid gets to go to Target with grandma and grandpa. It's really sweet. So
You can't ever replace those times with your
yeah.
grandchildren.
Exactly.
Usually we did it with our grandkids one-on-one, but several of them were the same age, so sometimes it was one on two or three. But they got to choose whether it was going putt-putting or like two granddaughters to a little tea or, just a movie. My last one with two 29-year-olds was we went to a movie and threw popcorn at each other. So, I think those one-on-one times are just irreplaceable.
I agree, 1,000%. How about with the perspective that you have now, what would you worry about less as a parent?
What other people think about how I was a parent. You know, I just wanted to make sure that I did it just the way I was supposed to. And I don't know that there is a specific way you're supposed to be a parent. We're all different. Our kids are all different. But I was so concerned with what everyone else thought about me as a parent. And I wish I hadn't because they weren't the ones raising my kids. So that, and also just making memories and not just giving stuff. Your grandkids or your kids are going to talk about things that they did 5 years ago, and in your mind you're going, I don't even remember that, but for whatever reason that was so exciting to them. So make those memories and don't worry about the stuff. It's just stuff.
That's good advice. Anybody else want to add to that?
Well, in our day and age, there's a plethora of child rearing information out there.
Yeah.
Online, everywhere. You're inundated with it. And in my day and age, does anybody remember Dr. Spock?
Yeah.
Tracy, do you remember Dr. Spock? Okay. And he had all the answers to child rearing and knew all about it, even though he was a male. So, so I, along with CJ, just enjoy your children, give them guidelines as the Father loves us and disciplines us. We do the same to our children, and don't be worried about all the experts' advice.
Yeah, true. Just listen to your gut, I would say. Like, my first kid, I was like reading all the things and wanting to do everything right, but I made some mistakes, and I realized it's because I wasn't listening to my gut. And God puts that in you, what your kids need. He puts it inside of you. You just have to listen to it. So, yeah. All right, how about some simple ways to incorporate God into your toddler, specifically your preschool, or just young kids' routine? Anything that you guys did that you would recommend?
Like I said, the journaling. But that sort of thing, you know, and just talking about it, you know, like, you know, you're driving along the way and, you know, look what God made, you know, just incorporating Him into everything. And there's a lot of good encouragement out there that you can do little Bible, you know, scriptures, stories, just keeping it before them, and just not just like it's one part of the day, but just all throughout the day, talking about them and bringing them into, you know, we're praying for this today, or, you know, this person has a need, you know, let's pray for them, and just incorporating it. You know, I didn't have a great answer necessarily, other than just bring them along in your faith journey and talking about it with them.
Yeah. I had done that too. Just point out in nature, if nothing else, look what God made, and look at this ant crawling up my hand, you know, so little, but man, they're so busy. And just incorporating God's nature, sunrise, sunsets. I think anything you can do to emphasize that. You know, moms of newborns, rest when they rest, play when they play. SOS at grandma if you need an R&R, please.
And Instagram.
Just read good books to them. I have to put that in. Read good pictorial biblical books to your children, especially toddlers. Anything visual that you can show them that's not a screen would be a good thing. And, you know, screen time's great and wonderful, but just guard that. Use that in small amounts.
One of the things, and this is not like a major word of wisdom, but when my kids were little, if we were driving around a parking lot and I was looking for a parking spot, I would always, when I'd find one, I'd go, "Oh, thank you, Jesus." Well, the other day we were driving around, we were at a volleyball meet, and my granddaughter, who is turning 13, says, we get this parking spot, I was so excited, and I didn't even get to say it. She says, "Thank you, Jesus." She's in the back seat, and I'm going, you know what? That little girl has been listening. And I did that when her mama was little. So you never know, just those simple little words that come out of your mouth, what your kids or your grandkids will hold on to.
I'm going to give another plug for Junior Bible Quiz here, too. I don't know if any of you guys had kids or grandkids in Junior Bible Quiz. I know that Tracy's boys were, but it is just a wonderful way to engage with God's Word with your children. And you're teaching them the questions, they're answering the questions, and it's just really great. So start them in that when they're, 5, Heather, right? 5, I think is the youngest. Yeah, kindergarten. Okay, so we've touched on this a little bit, but what are some great activities that families can do together with children or grandchildren?
I have a whole list of things at home. Our greats, most of them are under 5, so we try to keep them really active so they take naps later in the day. But baking, doing puzzles, bubbles, take them out in the yard with a dollar store bottle of bubbles. That goes a long way. gardening, games, cootie and go fish. I'm an expert at nowadays. Park time, take a walk in a park with them. There's just lots of activities. My great-grandson was over the other day, and I had printed out a menu with boxes so that he could check off the activities that he wanted to do that day. He thought it was really big stuff because he could decide what we did when during the day. So that gives them a little bit of leadership and thought process into activities and things you might do with them.
Anybody else want to add anything? Jennifer said ditto, so.
We have a family dinner night, and we'll do family dinners. We'll play games, so kind of basically the same thing, but we actually have a dinner. And I still have a dinner with my brothers. We have family dinner night every Thursday, and I have 3 brothers,
Love
and
that.
we're old, so, I mean, we still do it.
I love that. Game nights too, yeah. Game nights are great. We do game nights with the grandparents and
I have to say that my grandson that's a sophomore in college thrives on the next time he comes home so he can beat me at gin rummy. So
that's awesome. I love that. Okay, so what are some things that the moms out here can do now to build a legacy of faith in their families that'll be passed down to their kids and their grandkids? It's a tough one.
You know, I think just them seeing you and your routine and relationship with the Lord is a good start.
Yeah.
You know, seeing how you respond in adversity, seeing how, you know, just your walk with the Lord, and including them in things that are appropriate for their age.
Yeah.
You know, and talking about it and about the Lord with them. You know, obviously, you know, going to church, and not that that's going to make that happen, but that it's a routine that, you know, adds to and helps you flourish. You know, I think that's the best thing, because you can say everything that you're supposed to do and not live it. And it makes, you know, a big difference.
So along those same lines then, what would you do if your grandkids or your kids don't go to church, but you really want to bring your grandkids along to church? How would you handle that?
you pray into it, and you do more than that. I have one great-grandson that goes to a nanny that's a Jehovah's Witness every other weekend. So I feel especially impressed by God to instill the love of Christ in him.
Yeah.
So we started about a year ago. I said, I'm going to teach you 3 B's. Be kind, be loving, and be helpful, which are all good things for a pre-kindergartner to do. I said, but I want to also teach you 4 I Ams. And in this day and age, self-esteem is battled against, bullied against. And so his I Ams are, I am smart, I am strong, I am brave, but most of all, I am loved by God. So just practical things like that. And he'll hold up his 3 fingers and say those, or his 4 fingers. I said, remember, you are a child of God, you are loved by God. So
I love that. Oh. Anybody else want to add anything? All right, this is a really good question. So how can moms out here guard against the cultural mindset of woe is me? I feel like that is a big thing right now. And while motherhood is hard, how do we prevent that resentment towards others who seem to have it easier?
I feel like it's amplified because of social media. I think that, you know, I was thinking back, I remember having hard days because my youngest one gave me a run for my money. And, but I wasn't telling anyone. I wasn't posting it. I wasn't, you know, but what I did do was my mentorship that encouraged me in my motherhood.
Mhm.
And so I would just, I know it's hard. Social media is a whole beast, and, I know that it takes a lot of wisdom and grace for you to, navigate that. But I would just make sure who you have in your influence is are people that are going to point you to what you want to see, and what you want, to be the influence, in your children's lives, in your life. I feel like, motherhood is hard work. It is hard work. And, but, someone that I followed, she wrote a book called The Mission of Motherhood. Some of you might know her, Sally Clarkson. But I just loved, and I haven't watched her in a while, but I've listened to a few of her things recently. And I did look at motherhood as a mission for me because I felt like God had put that in my heart. And this might be a little bit off, but we discussed it at our table last week a little bit. Laying all the groundwork and doing all the work does not mean everything is going to turn out perfectly. There's going to be hard things that you go through. There's going to be situations that your children go through that are hard and you never expected. But if you lay the foundation now, they know where to go in those hard times, and where to seek counsel, and to go back to when they've been disillusioned. And so if you lay the groundwork for yourself, then you can lay that for them, and then that's the influence that will help guide them in the future.
Along with that, the scripture, children are a heritage from the Lord,
Yeah.
calls to my mind that, if you seek him, and if he gave you and blessed you with that child, he will give you provision for that child. I think one of the things, reading a psalm and a proverb every day, if I didn't have time for anything else, I would struggle to get a psalm and a proverb in. Proverbs are practical, applicable, training your child, and psalms are crying out to the Lord.
Yeah.
So,
That's great advice.
suggestion.
One thing that I always told my girls is don't compare yourself with somebody else because you have no idea what that person is actually walking through.
Yeah.
Jennifer touched on this, surround yourself with people. There's a great community here, and I'm sure that a lot of you have picked out people that just resonate with you. When I first got married and we blended our family, I remember someone here at church, and I'm just going to say who it is because Tracy will know. Twyla Tanguma was my go-to. There was just something about her wisdom, and there was just something about her. It wasn't like we were best buddies or anything, but I would call her or I would email, because that's what we did back in the day, I would email her, and she would give me such good words, and I have never, ever forgotten that. And that was probably, not exaggerating, 30 years ago, or pretty close, 28. So find that person who just touches your heart, that you can be open and real with. And that's what I would say.
I feel like that's great advice, especially to the ones out here that may not have a great relationship with their mom, or maybe their mom has passed away, but that doesn't mean they can't still have that spiritual mother who acts as even a grandmother to their children. So that's definitely my prayer for each of you, is that you find somebody that can be that sounding board, because it really does make all the difference. Well, that is all of our time. I'm so sad. I feel like I could listen to you guys all day, but can we thank these grandmas for their wisdom? So good. We are going to transition into some time of prayer at your table now, so you can share your prayer requests with your table leaders and pray together. Just a reminder, we will not be here next week or the week after, but we'll be excited to see you guys back April 9th.